Hey YouTube. Um, I want to talk a little bit today about the blood types, and the parasitic virus because, well, I'll get into that. So, what I'm finding out, and I've been doing some really heavy research lately. I actually am so obsessed with this research. I stayed up all night last night and couldn't sleep and just had to come out of my computer and just continue to research this stuff because I'm discovering something that I'm finding that fits this puzzle, and I can't stop digging. So I want to see what you guys think. I want to start up the conversation with you guys about this. So, where to start? So, I want to start with the story. So, the human story, is not one that's been given to us, certainly not directly in any way. And I'm going to take it back to when I was a kid growing up. My parents were extremely religious. They were very Christian. I grew up in churches. They built churches. I grew up being told that the stories in the Bible were the true history and the true story. But I was so abused by the church and so made to be wrong being a woman and all of that stuff, and was beaten, and directly by the church, because I went to school there for a little bit too, that I ended up really more believing the story that I was indoctrinated with in school for a great portion of my adult life. But now that I am seeking the true story of the human, I have come back around to the spiritual books, because what I'm discovering is, because I don't want anything to do with the God trap. I don't want anything to do with spiritualism or anything like that. But what I'm discovering is the story and the history is in these books. And not just, the Bible, but there's the book of Enki and Enoch, and there's the Gospel of the Holy 12. There's actually the Mormon Bible. There's the Dead Sea Scrolls. There's, even the Torah, and like any spiritual book that you can find is actually a book that is containing part of the real story. And these are the books that talk about the different ages and different times and the different people and the different tribes. And while it is bastardized and it is infected with the virus, the stories are infected with the virus, 100%. So you're not just going to like sit down and read the Bible and get the truth, because it's infected with the virus. But we, as researchers that we are, and sifters and sorters, can find the story. And I feel like I'm starting to really find the story in a way that I'm not sure anybody else is thinking of it in this way, because people fall into the God aspect of it and the worshiping and that sort of thing. And really that is from the virus. And so let's get into that. So it's hard to sift and sort, because you have these stories, and the stories are based on what happened to us, but they are infected with this stuff. So to discuss it and talk about it becomes challenging. But I'm just going to throw out a few parts of it to make a point about the blood. And I'll get to that in a second. So, the story of Adam and Eve, and you go through all these different stories in all these different books, and there's crossovers of names and the original people and this genetic thing that happened here. So you have them in the garden, you have them living in harmony with what they're calling God, which is actually plasma. That's what God is. And so in comes this parasite, the snake, the serpent, the reptilian. And the story is, that this serpent tempts Eve with forbidden fruit. Now, everything is inverted and backwards and lies, okay? So you really have to be careful with these stories. But what I'm deciphering from this is that the forbidden fruit is not a fruit at all. Fruit is the true food of man. The forbidden fruit is flesh. What the serpent came in and asked humans to try was flesh, was flesh and blood. And that is, that's a very deep subject in and of itself, because the parasite is coming in to infect the blood. It's coming in to take over and to feast upon the flesh and the blood. So what do they try to get you to do? The same thing. They try to get you to act like them. And so there's all kinds of stories within these stories about what's right to eat and what's not right to eat, and what's our food, and so on and so forth. And there's groups who insisted, well, it's okay to eat the flesh and da 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 da. But if you get out of the esoteric stuff and get into and turn it into biology and look at it from that sort of alchemical viewpoint, you have a flesh-eating bacteria and virus coming into a place of stasis and disrupting it, genetically modifying it, and sickening and weakening it. So that really, really started with the feasting and eating of flesh and blood. And I'm starting to see too that the reason there's like these commandments and these laws and stuff like that are the people who made it through these switchovers and changeovers when the plasma comes in and tries to clean the blood, because that's what it's doing. You get the people trying to say, hey, this is how we keep the blood clean. We keep the blood clean by eating this way. We keep the blood clean by understanding who we are as the blood. So there's a lot about mating with your own kind, and there's different blood types. And these different blood types, it is going to come down to blood type. And the reason it comes down to blood type is because the plasma and the blood is trying to clear out this virus. When you put it in these terms, it really simplifies everything. When you put it into the biology, when you leave it here and all this esoteric spiritual stuff, there's very little understanding there. There's a lot of argument there, and different viewpoints and different ways to see things. But when you bring it to biology and you bring it to chemistry, it really simplifies the equation. So what they did in taking our human story and turning it into a religion, turning it into, hold on a second, Wally, turning it into spiritualism, is that they got you to worship them. Not only did they get you to eat the flesh and drink the blood, but they got you to invite them in. Now, who are they? This virus, this serpent that comes in to make the blood filthy, is of the spirit world. It lives in the spirit. These are demons that live in the spirit realm. So they're going to make man spiritual. They're going to make all of the stories religious. And that channels and funnels all the energy back to them. So they've got you on every front there. They've got you worshiping them. They've got you eating the flesh and drinking the blood. And there's a million different little loops and holes where they have you doing that, where you think you're trying to do the right thing, or trying to eat the right way, or trying to do the right thing for your body, or do the right thing for your soul. And your soul is your soul. It is not what they are telling you that it is. And that all has to do with the cosmology and the blue world versus the red world, which we've been drawing. And I'll get back to cosmology soon, but we can't fully understand the cosmology till we understand what and who we are, which is the blood. That's where we go to when we're not in form, in matter, in this regard, and that's what God is. Plasma, the circulating, spinning plasma from the heart through the body, and we are in that body, and we are the blood of that body. We are the flesh, and we are the blood. So why we would feast upon ourselves, that is the sickness. Not just the feasting upon ourselves, but the creating it all to be a spiritual, esoteric thing. You're putting all of your power into the realm of the demons. Okay? And this is their trick. This is their trick. So they don't want you to know how biological you are. They don't want you to know the power of the blood, which you are. And the blood is doing something interesting. And that's why I say it comes down to blood types in the end, because the blood is trying to clean itself out. And you get all this stuff about, they're always going to put it in terms of God. So anytime I say that, I am talking about plasma. I'm not talking about some spiritual realm where demons live. That is not what I mean. So the blood types, I took a few pictures of graphs and we'll see if we can make that work. If not, I might have to do another video to express that to you. But so you have the different blood types. And when in those commandments and laws, it says to stay with your own kind and mate with your own kind, this is a reference to blood type. Okay? And that's why we have issues with blood and reproduction. And I'm talking about Rh negative people. There is a blood barrier, an antigen within the blood that does not accept this other blood. Well, that's because that is not your origin. So I am saying that blood compatibility is enormous. It is a huge thing. And you don't want to be mixing blood types. This is how they have corrupted the blood. They've got everyone to mix together. And it may even have something to do with the stories about the mating with the Nephilim. But it's all about mating. It's all about crossing, genetically engineering humans to be something different than what the pure blood that they are. And I say pure blood, and that sounds kind of fucked up, because this has all been so reversed on us that when you start to hear the truth, you're like, wow, that, you can see how they painted the lies within to make it something that you might reject. Okay, but this is how it is. We all come from different blood types, and we all have an Rh negative or an Rh positive factor within our blood. And they'll tell you, like on Wikipedia or whatever, that this Rh factor is to do with the rhesus monkey. And that if you have Rh positive, that you are connected to this primate of Earth. And if you're Rh negative, that you don't have that you're not connected to that. Well, that is a backwards, upside down lie, which most of the information that we have and from the authorities is going to be inverted. It's going to be turned upside down. They're going to use lies to tell the truth and truth to tell lies. It's very complex the way they do it. So the blood types. So they have got us mixing, and what they're mixing is that reptilian entity that came in and genetically modified with us, got us eating the flesh, eating the blood. And what I'm looking into with anatomy and stuff right now is this act more like a parasite? Does it act more like a virus? Does it act more like a bacteria? And honestly, I feel like it acts like all of them. So I'm still sort of digging around with that. But one of the things that we're seeing with the blood types is that the blood is trying to clean itself out. And this is not an attack on any blood type or Rh factor. I'm just trying to explain something that is happening within the blood. We are all human. We are all beautiful. We are all chosen. And we are all going to inherit what we're going to inherit. But it doesn't necessarily mean that your inheritance is here on earth. And that's okay. So some of the graphs I showed, and this may be hard to see on there because it's a picture of a picture. Okay, but you see that big chunk of yellow That's the A blood type. You see the large chunk of orange, that is the O blood type. And you have the variations in here. You've got the AB, maybe that's a better picture. You've got the AB, the B, and then you have the RH factors included in this graph. But the B is the green, okay? And the darker green is the B negative. So you see how tiny of a percentage the population is with this B blood type, and especially the RH negative B. Oh wait, okay, I got off topic. I'm sorry. It's like this. So this is the first time I've tried to talk about it out loud. So the rhesus monkey. So the RH factor. So what really that is really in reference to is not a monkey at all. It is Rhea and Zeus. Okay, Rhea and Zeus. Rhea the mother, Zeus the son, and their blood interference with the human body. So the rhesus RH positive factor is the reptilian factor that is within the blood. And it's in all of us. I'm not saying RH negatives are better than RH positive people. No, we are all infected with this virus. We all have the virus. We're all here together. But the RH negatives are the portion of the blood that is trying to clear out this virus. Because God, or the plasma, will choose the clean and pure blood in the end to inherit. And everyone who got more infected with this virus is merely going to be shot through the system, through the heart, re-oxygenated, re-cleaned out, and reintroduced into the blood group that is virus free. So say you are an O positive or an A positive, all that means is that your blood is going to be cleaned out through the system, just like the RH negatives are doing right here, right now. We're trying to clean out the blood, throughout. The blood is trying to clean itself out. They're going to call it things like God's chosen people, right? Well, it's not like that. It's not about anyone being better than anybody. But the blood is trying to do this. The blood is trying to clear this virus out from itself. So when the cataclysm happens, when the deluge happens, and when the plasma comes through, likely those who are left, and there will be very few left. You see the percentage on this graph. There's only a tiny portion of people that are going to be left. And those probably are going to be the people with the blood of the golden age, which is an RH negative factor. And I'll point out something else about this blood type factor is that you have so you have the A, the B, and the O. You have A, the alpha, B, the beta, O, the omega. Well, what has been ruling here? The alpha and the omega. Who will inherit the earth? The meek, the beta. Okay, so this is real information about your blood and what it really means. And one thing I've wondered about the B blood type is how many Bs are blood over intent. I just kind of wondered how many people who were attracted to that are either RH negative factor or a B blood type. So if you watch my videos, if you're blood over intent, or if please comment with any feedback. But I would be interested to know how many of my friends who are blood over intent online are RH negative or B blood type. Because there is a desire to clean the blood. And so say you're O positive, or you're AB positive, or you're A positive, you can still help clean the blood. And you know how you help clean the blood is stop eating the flesh and the blood. that is the corruption of your blood. So apparently, supposedly, those blood types are more prone to want to eat meat, but it is not needed. It is part of the infection. It is part of the disgusting thing that's going on here, and we're conditioned to it. We're very used to it, but you know, you need to think about who we really are too as custodians of this world, where we live with animals, and the animals who are helpless, the animals who need our custodianship, are the ones who are being slaughtered and murdered and eaten. They're the non-predatorial animals. They're the docile animals. And that says a lot about us as well. So the eating of the flesh and the blood is a really big deal about what's going on here and where the virus is getting in. It's getting in through an orifice. It's coming in through an orifice. And there's a sexual component to this as well. But today I'm mostly going to talk about the food and what you're eating. So that's how things get into our body, is through an orifice. It's either through your mouth or another orifice or through a cut in the skin, like a wound. So I believe they came in with the food, the forbidden fruit. And they've switched it all around. You know, what used to be called flesh and meat was fruit. The flesh of a melon, the flesh of an apple. That is your real food. But see, they turn it all upside down and on its head, and that's where the confusion comes in. But if you look at this biologically, and you look at this in a chemical way, it makes complete sense that cannibalization and eating of flesh and blood is going to corrupt the blood. If you know God is plasma, and you know that we are the blood inside of the body, and you really start to take that in, and the beauty of that, and what that means about family and stuff, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be an incredible red world, and we're not there yet. But we do need to address this with the blood and the blood types. And if you are of B blood, it may be time to find others with B blood. This is our inheritance. We will be the blood that takes over this world. The Alpha and the Omega have done their thing, and that is the blood will clean itself out now, and that will be the B. And there are some who say that the B is actually the Jew. I don't know about stuff like that. Like, because you get into those stories and you get into like who everybody was and the names and stuff like that. And I feel like there's a lot of room there to misinterpret, and there's a lot of room to divide and conquer. So that you have to be careful with. But that is part of what is insinuated about why they say chosen people and stuff like that. And that the O's have actually been pretending to be these chosen people. And, you know, the Omega, and they're running everything. And a lot of these families and so forth are O's. And they have no antigens within their blood. That's why they're a universal donor and stuff like that. And they may be, in my opinion, one of the most modified blood types. And in fact, some say that the O was the one that was messed around with most with animals. So if you're an O and you feel like super connected to certain animals, you actually might have splices of that within you. And which is fine. Like I said before, we're all beautiful. It doesn't matter RH negative, RH positive, which one you are. But it is relevant in the bigger picture of what the blood is going to do to clean itself out. And it doesn't mean death for some and life for others. It means life for everybody, to take this virus out of our blood. So I hope that makes sense. I want to put it out there that the blood types are relevant. If you are a B, you should sexually probably be with a B. You shouldn't be mixing your fluids with an A or an O. Now there's the AB blood type, which has both, but it still contains the alpha. So while it is closer to, slightly more compatible to a B is the only blood type that's only true compatibility is another B. They say an O negative can be compatible with a B negative as well, but that's just because the O has no antigens in its system. I don't necessarily think that means it's compatible. It might not kill you, but that's another thing. So that sort of touches on the sexual component of it, is that we are of different tribes, and it's sort of like a wolf and a coyote sort of a thing. So if we're clearing out the blood and we're waiting for the plasma to come and do the final deluge of it, then it's a more important time than ever to consider what you are eating, to consider how you're living your life. And look at those commandments. Look, the Gospel of the Holy 12. Maybe I'll try to link it. If I don't in this video, I will in another. They're really simple, and it really is about the blood. It is about, you corrupt your blood by doing something horrible like murdering somebody because you're spilling the blood of another. You know, your food is relevant because of the spilt blood. It's all about the blood. The mating is relevant because of the blood. And it isn't about hierarchy. Like I said, it's just about dealing with a blood infection, because that's what we're dealing with here. So I hope that made sense. This is sort of my introductory video into this topic. I really kind of wanted to get out what I was thinking about it. And I want to hear from other B blood types and how they feel about what I said about the Bs. And, if you're A or O, I really feel like this is the time to really move towards a vegetable-based diet. I don't really usually tell people like what to eat or what to think or stuff like that, but when you bring it to the blood, and it is about the blood, and that's who you are, it suddenly makes a lot more sense. And remember that they take our story and put it through the filter of spirituality, and that's where we get lost. That is where we lose. We lose touch with who we are, what we are to each other. So I encourage you to drop the spiritualism, the use of names, and to simplify all of this to living a clean life and to understanding what that means, and that it has everything to do with the blood. And we're all brothers and sisters within the blood. We all go back to the blood, come from the blood, are the blood. So even though we are separated here by blood type because of the genetic modifications and the virus that came in and did this with us, that doesn't mean that we're not going to rectify the situation and be pure within the blood again. So there you go. Blood types, spirituality, and food. Tell me what you guys think. Always love.